Update 28 is out. I just made a video about the secret magic wand that showed up in the wizard van, but there's a whole lot more to Update 28 than that. So we've already talked about it a lot on the official Undead Lab stream, but now that I've actually got the game live in my hands, I wanted to poke around with it a little bit on my own stream with my own community. You'll notice that, this is why I've stayed in Providence Ridge this whole time, even though it was probably a good time to move on, because I really wanted to spend some time looking at our beautiful new skybox and lighting scheme. Of course, obviously the skybox is mostly one color at this time of day because we've got these misty mornings, which really reminds me a lot of where I live, honestly. Like, there's certain days where you can barely see, a few feet in front of your face in the morning, though the mist tends to burn off towards the end of the day. And that's what happens here. So this is the morning in Providence Ridge. We're going to, probably see multiple different times of day over the course of this video. Especially because nighttime is when this update really, really shines. So while we're waiting for that, I guess this is probably a good time to show off some of the new outfits that have arrived with Update 28. So let's switch to... So some of my newer characters, like the mechanics that I've recruited, they don't have any custom outfits yet. And so this might be a really good time to dress them up. So let's get them dressed up in some nice festive holiday gear, starting with some ugly sweaters. So let's put the blue snowflake sweater on this dude. But with Update 28, we don't just have sweaters for folks. We have got... What do we call them? Winter beanies. That's what we have. Winter beanies. So one of these, this one right here. So yeah, so each of these winter hats matches one of the ugly sweaters. So we've got the blue snowflake sweater with the blue snowflake hat. Let's see who else we can dress up this way. So let's grab another ugly sweater for this guy. Maybe the candy cane sweater for this dude. And then to match him, we've got the candy cane beanie, so we'll put that on his head. Now we've got our Red Talon character. I think, she looks just like everybody else in her unit. This isn't going to do. She needs to wear something a little bit more unique. So let's go with a Skull Eagle sweater. And to match that, a beautiful Skull Eagle hat. There we go. Now we can see her face. That's nice. Now, she's already got all the outfit she could possibly ever want. So let's leave her alone. But this guy looks like he looks really sad. He needs a pick-me-up. So let's go with the Freddy Krueger sweater over here and the matching hat. He can just look sad, dressed like a psychopath. That's fine. This guy, oh, he's injured. He definitely needs a pick-me-up. Well, we're going to give him our fanciest sweater, which is our glowing Christmas light sweater. And guess what? This one also got its own hat. So I used to only put... When characters would wear this sweater, I would usually put a different hat on them. Which one? I think it was the cattleman's hat. Yes, there's this cattleman hat that has the glittering rhinestone decor on it. So I would usually match these two up together because they were both shiny. But now I don't have to. Now I can actually go with an actual on-theme winter hat. And isn't that just the most gorgeous thing? Let's make sure that everybody else... So these two are still Halloween themed. I think that's probably fine. I actually really like this orange jacket on her, so I'm going to leave her alone. Anybody else who needs to wear something fancier? Oh, yeah, the pilot hat and the fireman's jacket really go well together for me, so I like that one. This guy, he's the only guy who just doesn't look like he's dressed for any particular season. But he's still got that sort of gold and black thing matching going on. I really like him. So you know what? We're just going to leave that alone. So here's our, our Christmas-themed group of people. And right now, okay, it looks like I'm playing my Freddy Krueger guy. How are you looking? Oh, you're looking gorgeous, dude. You're looking absolutely gorgeous. All right. So we've got a fair amount of time left before it gets dark. And so I thought maybe it might be kind of fun to go over some of the other patch notes. Now, a lot of these patch notes are, smaller items, things that I don't really, necessarily know a ton of extra detail about, but I figured I'd kind of go over the list a little bit and just, if there's anything interesting that I can add about them, then I'd love to do it. So everybody, so we already went over on the big public stream a lot of the big highlights of Update 28. We've redecorated Providence Ridge. There's a lot of aspects of this map, especially the foliage and the rocks and the sky and sort of the lighting throughout the day that have changed. Valkyrie Entertainment did a ton of really good work in this map, and the work's not over yet. So we'll have to see what arrives in future updates. So that's a huge part of it, and we're going to see that in the background as I keep playing the game in the future. Later on, once the hey, you can shush. Later on, once the sun goes down, we can look at one of their biggest changes, which is adding enclave lighting throughout not just this map, but all of the maps. Whenever you have an enclave, or if you've claimed a place as an outpost, it's going to be lit up. And so we can go look at that at a later point in the stream. We've got a zombie density map now. You'll notice that this urban area has got this sort of like wine stain on it that basically shows this is where we spawn more zombies in other places. So if I'm like out here, I should expect the zombies to be fewer and further between. But if I'm in one of these urban centers, I can expect the zombies to be a lot thicker on the ground. And as I clear out a bunch of zombies, you should actually see some of this darker stain fade, representing the fact that you can actually sort of exhaust the spawner, and the spawner will stop spawning as many zombies if you've killed enough zombies in a local area. So Zoe McClatchy did a really great job of this because, for one thing, in real life, this is actually handled with more of a grid shape and some like big square volumes that sort of mark out these locations where zombies are spawning. And you can see a little bit of a hint of sort of some squareness or some regularity to some of these shapes. But she did a really great job of sort of making some fairly regular shapes look a lot more indistinct to make this feel a lot more natural. And so you can see it takes on this sort of cloudy shape to it, which really sort of makes it feel more legitimate. And it feels like it's something biological rather than something that's sort of locked down by a bunch of volumes that we've placed in the level. Another big change she made that I'm not going to be able to demo here, but I probably should tackle it at some point in the future, is the Shots in the Dark achievement. It used to be that was the most difficult achievement in the game for anyone to get, because it required you to find 6 specific guns in Heartland, and a good amount of the time when you would spawn a new Heartland map, it wouldn't even have all 6 guns available to you. And so it got very, very frustrating for players. And so we've actually changed it now. Joe Swarner took some of our new tools that we created for the Homecoming update, and he went in and he added basically a scavenger hunt into the Heartland map, which means if you're playing Heartland, there's a whole new series of discoverable locations with a little story suggested in the background that gives you access to all 6 of those guns. Oh man, it looks like we've got some screamers over there that I should do something about. Okay, that didn't work.
Can't let that screamer get close.
Oh no. Well, that wasn't what I hoped would happen. I guess they get upset when their friends die. Well, they attracted a bunch of zombies over there. Hopefully they didn't spawn any bloaters around me. I don't see any bloaters. Oh, wait a minute. Sweet. Anyway, I'm going to go back inside. This is a dangerous place. Oh, yeah, and then finally, of course, we gave everyone access to the Doomsday Pack, which is it's a set of supply drops that are labeled Ultimate Edition, as well as a vehicle delivery that's labeled Ultimate Edition. I can't afford them right now because I've totally run my community out of influence. But the reason we did that was because we had a subset of players who had ordered the Ultimate Edition originally. Oh, looks like my people are getting into a fight with zombies over there. Awesome. They'd ordered the Ultimate Edition, and for some reason we could not get the entitlement to work properly, and they couldn't get access to the things that they had paid for. And that made us feel really, really bad. Like, we really wanted, if somebody has bought something from us, we really want them to be able to have access to it. And we got to the point where our only option effectively for giving them access to it and fixing their problem was to give access to those prizes to everyone. And so that's what we ended up needing to do. So yeah, so now everybody can, enjoy that content. It's kind of like, the way that everybody got access to Heartland and the, and Daybreak and other things that were, tied into the Ultimate Edition. A lot of folks did still get access to those eventually once we released Juggernaut Edition. And this is just one more thing in that category. There is one thing that only people who ordered the Ultimate Edition still have access to, which is unique outfit. I'm trying to remember. I think it was it? I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's one of our jackets. I think it was Juggernaut Jacket. Yeah, so I think one of these items, it might be this. Yes, there we go. So yeah, so I don't have access to the Juggernaut Jacket. Only people who bought the Ultimate Edition get access to the Juggernaut Jacket. So even though I've got access to that vehicle and I've got access, to those supply drops, I still don't have access to this. So if you order the Ultimate Edition, you still have this, and I don't. So, please enjoy that. And, sorry for all of the sort of confusion and weirdness around this. We wish that it had been easier to resolve this in a different way, but, it kind of is what it is. And, we're stuck in a situation where none of the choices were good, and we tried to make the choice that would be the most fair to the people who were kind of suffering the most from the bad situation. So yeah, so that is sort of the top line stuff that we've already discussed. But there's a bunch of other smaller things that went in, and I wanted to sort of read through the patch notes on this on this stream, and just sort of. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually have much insight to add to a lot of these, but just in case I do, I figured I'd read through the patch notes. We can talk about it. And I'm getting a couple of really good questions in the chat too, which I'll want to go back and grab. So first off, in the environment, the sidewalks in Heartland have been nerfed. That's how Patrick put it. That basically, it used to be that trying to get up on a curb in Heartland was a challenge, and we fixed it in the Trumbull Valley, the new Trumbull Valley map that was added with Homecoming, but we didn't go back and fix it in Heartland in time to make that release, and so now we have. Now we've gone back, and in Update 28, you can run back and forth across the curbs in Marshall without stumbling over them, which is really, really nice. And we also went through the new Trumbull Valley map and added claim tables to a bunch of sites that didn't have them, places where the site said, hey, you can make me a fancy outpost, except when you got there was no table that let you claim it. That was just an oversight. It's easy to accidentally leave those off some sites, and so, so we made a few mistakes in there, but we've corrected a bunch of those. So you should be able to, every site that says it can be an outpost should actually be claimable in an outpost now in that update. So let me actually, I'm going to keep the game running in the background, but I think I'm going to switch to just full-on Jeffrey Cam view so that I can really sort of focus on reading these things. But you'll still hear zombies in the background. That just feels appropriate to me. Oh, look, my people are getting into a fight. I'll try to get my character into a... There's a Juggernaut in here? What the heck? I just can't have a normal fight, can I? I've got all my people sitting here fighting this massive Juggernaut. I just wanted to sit here and pass the time while we talked. But no, we have to get into a giant war. Oh, good, there's a feral too. That's awesome. Well, I thought we were going to be stopping and having a nice conversation today, but it looks like we're getting into a battle instead. Let me see if I can contribute positively to this situation and make it happen faster. There we go. Take care of the feral. Oh, there's another one? Oh, what? Hey, I didn't even see that zombie coming. Okay, looks like they're taking him down. Good. Is that everybody? No, there's still a screamer out there, isn't there? And that means there's going to be more zombies, too. Am I still hearing a Juggernaut, too? Oh, no, stop infecting my people. Nope. There we go. Take that guy down. Okay, there. Somebody want to grab him? I kind of can't get past his friend. There we go. Oh, he's stuck in the gate. That's beautiful. Nice. Okay, so my character's not in the best shape. I guess I'm gonna run away over here. And I don't think that anybody is sick. We do need to clear out some infestations, you can see up there. But anyway, okay. Again, I'm going to keep the game running, though. Oh, actually, we've gotten past the morning. Check it out. All the fog is burned off. Well, you know, there's still a little bit of mist in the air. It's still a little overcast, but you can see a lot further now. You can sort of... You can't quite see all the way out to the horizon yet, but you can see that, that it feels a little bit like sort of the weather is shifting over the course of the day. I really love just how much differentiation Valkyrie put into the different times of day in Update 28. It feels really... Oh, holy crap! No, Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Let's not have those guys sneak up on me, thank you. Alright, anyway. Let's try to get my character to a semi-safe place. And let's go back to talking about the patch notes. By the way, I'm sorry that I have been falling behind in your chat. I'm going to scroll back and look at it in just a second. So yeah. So human AI now only shoots at targets it can actually see. And so we're going to avoid some cases where characters are just fruitlessly shooting into obstacles and walls and things like that, which is something that they used to do. Now they'll be a little bit more reasonable about it, which is nice. We also improved muzzle flashes so that they'd be more consistently attached to the muzzles of ranged weapons. So sometimes they would be a little bit offset, things like that. So we've tried to improve that, make it a little bit better across the board. We now highlight the last vehicle that you used on the map. That's one that I can actually probably show you in game. So let's run back down here. What's the best way to get to my vehicle? This direction. So right now, I don't think I've got one highlighted because I haven't gotten into a vehicle yet this session. But if I hop into this vehicle, I don't think I even need to drive it around. I just need to get out again. Now it's got a red disc around it. You can see over there on the mini-map. It's got a red disc around it. So if you park in an area that's got a lot of vehicles around, or if, you know, you just have trouble in the moment, which I do, you know, differentiating between all the icons on your map when you're trying to find your vehicle, now you've got this green disc that will make it really obvious what vehicle is yours, is the one that you brought into the situation, and the one you might want to leave in. That idea came from Matea, one of our programmers. This is actually, you know, a lot of what we were doing during Update 28 was letting people sort of work on features that they were personally interested in. We didn't have, like, you know, we obviously had our big coordinated effort, which was to you know, do this map upgrade in Providence Ridge and add the enclave lighting. That was sort of those were the headliner features, and we had another couple things, you know, trying to resolve problems with the Doomsday Pack and the Shots in the Dark achievement. Those are really important to us as from like a high level, you know, sort of strategy level, I guess. But then a lot of the other features that went in were just people's personal things that they wanted to do. So Zoe McClatchy just really wanted to make it clearer how the zombie spawners were working, giving you, you know, more feedback about what's going on in the game rather than having it all be just invisible behind the scenes. We've been looking for a lot of ways to do that, to make, you know, the way that zombies behave mean more to you as a player. And so she had that idea, and so she did it, and it looks really good. Matea had the idea of, you know, wanting to be able to make finding your car more, you know, easier, and so some of the other, you know, things that went in had that same kind of vibe. Oh, now there's going to be a siege at my house. Okay, I'm gonna pause. We'll deal with the siege a little bit later. Don't want to worry about that while we're doing this video. So yeah, that's going on. So the badges on radio commands now disappear immediately as you highlight them. So that should be a little bit easier to deal with. If you end up with a lot of radio badges, it should be less annoying to get rid of them, which is nice. Oh, when the change map screen is open, if you're leaving the map, you're actually moving your community to a new map, that screen now pauses the game rather than letting you get killed by a feral in your very last moments in a map, which, you know, outside of your control, which had happened to a few of our players. They'd reported it to us, and we're like, that's BS. The game should not do that to you. So, so that should no longer be possible. Oh, the weapon HUD is no longer available when you're sitting in a vehicle because it currently prompts you to do things like swap weapons and stuff that you just can't do while you're sitting in a car seat. So now we're no longer sort of telling you should be able to do that when you're in a position where you can't. Oh, we fixed a situation where you could accidentally delete a muzzle attachment, so hopefully that won't happen. And yeah, and we made just some other sort of interface changes, like when a facility action is disabled because something else is going on, we tried to make that clearer what's going on so you don't get confused. And similarly, there was like a weird green check mark that was hanging out in the flyout next to the population listing for an enclave. It was there for other reasons. Like there, sometimes when you're building a piece of UI and something needs a check mark, you have to build a check mark into the UI. But then it's easy for that check mark to like sneak into context where it doesn't make any sense, and this was a case like that. So we got rid of that little check mark. One thing you can do, you can actually now upgrade a vehicle. The vehicle upgrade system, basically, if you've got a particular vehicle sitting in a parking slot, you can, from the base screen, use that parking slot. There's an action that appears on it that lets you, trigger an upgrade of the vehicle. Now you don't have to use the base screen to do that. If you want to walk up to the vehicle in person, if you just interact not with the vehicle, but with the slot that it's in, just like any facility slot, you can do it in person, and you can do it with an upgrade that's sitting in your backpack, rather than relying on only having it in the supply locker. So that just makes it work like a lot of other facility actions. It was an exception to the rule, and now it works like everything else. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we replaced an accidental temporary icon that would appear when the Haven device was powered down. I didn't even see that one in action. Somebody else fixed it, so yay! I'm glad someone else fixed that. We removed a non-working developer item from the weapon seller's wares in the Warlord Weapons for All mission. That one was my fault. Larry ended up being the one who fixed it, but yeah, I think I just accidentally was. We were making some improvements to that mission to sort of make it actually play out the way that the text said it played out, with them really overcharging for a lot of weapons and then offering those weapons long term. And so I was trying to make some improvements to them, and I added in like a bunch of weapons that sounded good, but one of the weapons that sounded good to me was actually a placeholder weapon that didn't work, and it was my mistake. And when I tested it out, I put enough of a sort of a variety of weapons in that particular weapon didn't pop up in any of my tests, and so I didn't realize that it was problematic until it was too late, until it was in the wild. So thank you to Larry Wu for getting in there and fixing it after the fact, because yeah, it's really easy to let stuff like that slip in, and it's embarrassing when it happens. But there you go. That's what that was. You now have the option to cancel Isby's Breaking the Code mission in Trouble Valley, just like a lot of the other ones. Basically, yeah, like we tried to follow like a really consistent format with the Homecoming missions. We wanted to make sure that you could sort of play a few of them, learn how they work, and then and then just have your expectations fulfilled with all of them. We wanted to sort of have there be sort of some standards for the way that they behaved, but that one ended up being an exception, and so it was actually really a good opportunity because we've got a fairly new content designer on the team, Randy, who this ended up being like a really good opportunity for him to learn how our missions are structured, and take a mission that worked one way and totally reformat it to work in a different way. He had to get deep into the guts of the mission logic to make that change. And so it was a really good opportunity. So I'm kind of glad we had that exceptional mission there, because it gave one of our newer colleagues a chance to do something cool with it. And then the Clean Slate mission with the military enclave no longer spawns infestations on top of other enclaves. Apparently, we just weren't checking to see if a particular site had an enclave already in it before we put an infestation there and sent you after it. So, it could get a little bit weird sometimes. So that's not there anymore. I'm reading an older version of the patch notes right now that said we added an FOV slider. And actually, this is a good opportunity for me to chat with Ranethcord, because Ranethcord asked a question, wanted to know if I could give any insight into some of the features that were tested out in the public test realm, but that didn't end up in Update 28. And the FOV slider is one of them. So I think the FOV slider is a really, really great idea. It came out of, I believe, some of our discussions around trying to improve the situation for people who have motion sickness issues. We wanted to, sometimes being able to control the FOV is one way that somebody can lessen the effects of motion sickness. Sometimes having a very zoomed in, tight camera means that there's a lot of parallax and a lot of exaggerated motion, and backing the camera out, or widening the camera's angle out, can reduce that quite a bit. And also let you operate without having to move the camera quite as much. And so we were going to try that out. And actually, we still intend to do it. The problem is, we got it working, and we put it into the game. We put it in the PTR to get feedback from it. But it turns out there are some cases, especially at the widest FOV, where there's some stuff that breaks. And forgot the details. I think it might have been to do with the transitions to aiming, there's some edge cases where it broke some stuff, and we found out about the broken stuff just a little bit too late to fix it in time for update 28 to go out. And because we had already hidden it behind a feature flag, which is a thing we do to sort of keep in progress features from getting out into the wide world, because it was just really easy to turn it off. And so rather than trying to check in some risky fixes to it at the very last minute, we just decided to turn it off and keep working on it in the background. And we expect it to come back as part of a later update. The other feature that went into the PTR that didn't end up in Update 28 was the bullet tracers. This was another one of those examples of somebody on the team really having sort of like a thing that they really wanted to work on that they thought would be a really interesting addition to the game. And again, we support people in wanting to do that, especially after shipping a huge update like Homecoming. We really wanted to give people a chance to sort of relax and focus on things that they really enjoyed. And a lot of these, they worked out great. This particular one, though, it had a little bit of trouble. I mean, players were coming back to us with feedback that the effects were too dramatic. That it, from some angles, especially if you're playing in multiplayer or with a lot of AI characters, they could look really weird. They could kind of dominate the appearance of combat, and that wasn't the intent. Basically, the intent behind it was a sense that when you fired a zombie, particularly if you fired and you had kind of a wide crosshair, and the bullet went wide, and you're not sure what happened, like, did I hit? Why didn't I hit? I shot at the zombie and the zombie didn't die. What's going on? There's potential to have a negative experience there. And so the idea was to give the player some feedback that no matter what, even if they're not firing at a surface where they could see a bullet hit, even if they're just firing and missing the zombie and hitting the sky, giving them some kind of feedback to show them you did fire a bullet, it did go a particular direction, and this is why you missed. It's because it just skimmed right by its head. And having that feedback would make those misses less frustrating. And that's actually a really good that's a really good motivation, and it was a good idea. But the thing that we didn't have was a lot of time from the art team to be able to sort of give it its sort of final polish so that it has the right balance of visibility and subtlety to feel good as sort of like tracer rounds, because we don't want it to feel like it's really like bright magnesium tracer rounds that are just dominating the experience, or hanging smoke trails in the air and stuff like that. We weren't trying to make it that dramatic, but we didn't have sort of the time that it would take to really take that feature as it started and make it subtle enough to really sort of work in its perfect, in its ideal way. And so because we didn't have that time, we've kind of put the feature on ice. And if we ever do get time in the future, then there might, from the right people with the right specialties, we might return to it. But that one's a little less urgent to us compared to, say, the FOV sliders, which I'm pretty sure are going to come in an update in the fairly near future, because that one, helping people who have motion sickness and people who have other reasons to want the FOV to be different. That's a little bit more of a high priority than getting the tracers right, because the tracers, they might help a little bit with an edge case of a player not fully understanding how their crosshair works and what they should expect from shooting. We think that's probably a smaller edge case, though, and so it's a really cool idea for a feature, and it would be cool if we do it at some point. That one's a little. You shouldn't necessarily. If you're a fan of the tracers, you shouldn't expect them to come with quite the level of urgency as the FOV sliders. And and if they do arrive, they'll probably look pretty different from the way they looked at in the PTR. So anyway, that is pretty much everything. I think the last thing on the on the patch notes is a call out to the fact that I added some Easter eggs for my favorite podcast, which is the Rock Paper Shotgun electronic wireless show. I actually did an entire video where you could actually watch me implement those Easter eggs live. So if you want to see that, I'll probably put a card up on the screen so you can click that if you want to see it. But yeah, so that's the last thing on the patch notes. And I just wanted to call attention to it because I love Rock Paper Shotgun and I love their podcast. It's actually one of several podcasts they do, but that's my favorite podcast that they do. The folks in there are just really funny, and they've got sort of a great banter between themselves. They come up with a ton of really fun in jokes, and one of the things I really respect about them is the fact that they are good game designers in addition to being good podcast hosts. In that they come up with games to play with each other to entertain the audience that are really good games, are really interesting, fun games. And so it's definitely worth checking out. So I've already recommended it on the other video, so you can look at that if you want to see more details on that. Okay, so that was a lot of me talking. Let me look back over the chat and see if any questions popped in that I want to answer. Let's see. Oh, wow, somebody even rated me and I didn't notice. Sorry about that, Family Guy lover. When you rated me, it didn't occur to me that had happened. So, okay, so let me go. I scrolled all the way up to the top of my chat because I've been ignoring you all this entire time. Oh, yeah, so It's Liam asked, I was playing Heartland again and was thinking if we would ever see the Plague Walls or the Plague Busters again. So the Plague Walls and the Plague Busters in State of Decay 2 are pretty specific to Heartland. And I'm not really seeing us necessarily, unless, we would have to get through a lot of other priorities first before we started messing with that kind of thing in the core game, trying to, expand its use throughout the game. But I think that they were a really sort of a nice prototype of a broader idea of making the plague more interesting to fight than currently the bullet sponge plague hearts that we currently have. So I think that sort of throughout the life of the franchise, I'm betting in the future you will see some influence of that experience getting into the game. I can't promise that it'll ever happen in State of Decay 2 Beyond Heartland, where we first tried that idea out. But I think we consider that to have been a pretty successful step forward for making it interesting to fight the Plague Walls. And there's a lot more room in that direction to move. So I would not be surprised if in the future you do end up seeing things that feel like they were inspired by the stuff in Heartland. Just, I wouldn't bank on it happening anytime soon in State of Decay 2. So then came Ranethcourt's question about the FOV and the tracers, which I think I've explained. Another thing that this sort of reminded me of. A lot of people were asking me, like, every single day leading up to today, which is December 6th, the release of Update 28. Folks have been asking me, when is the update coming out? When is the update coming out? And right up until today, I kept saying, soon, we can't tell you. And so I wanted to give a little bit of insight into why we did that, why we do that all the time, why we sort of never reveal exactly what date something is coming out until the last possible minute. And this particular case is a really good example. So we were aiming at December 6th for a really long time. For a long time, we were like, the perfect time to launch this is the beginning of December. That's when we can, it's the beginning of the holiday season. We can release the Christmas hats at the appropriate time. There's, all of these good reasons why the beginning of December, the first Monday in December, would be the best time to do it. There's a stream that day, automatically, stuff like, there's just a lot of good reasons. But when we went into certification, we actually got a certification failure because somebody discovered during that test that if you drive a police car or an ambulance with a siren on really close to a large wall, you can fill the screen with the flashing red and blue lights, and that can trigger a photosensitivity problem. For people who, for instance, have epilepsy and are likely to go into a seizure with certain patterns of light shining in their eyes. And so we initially were like, okay, we have to delay the release. If this is a new thing that has cropped up in Update 28, we can't release it until we've solved the problem. And so we had to keep investigating it and finding out, was this a problem unique to Update 28? For instance, did the new fog in Providence Ridge cause this to be worse? And if it did, then we need to resolve it before we release Update 28. So we were pushing back the date, and we were actually talking about maybe releasing the update sometime in the middle of December instead of the beginning of December. And then a few days later, we find out, no, there's no difference between Update 27 and Update 28 in this regard, which means we still do need to address it, but Update 28 didn't make anything worse. So there's no reason to hold up Update 28. Instead, we just need to solve it as soon as we can, but Update 28 is not going to be the problem. And then the date switched back to December 6th. And so imagine if we had announced the date, December 6th, before going through certification and before verifying that we could actually come out at the right date. We would have announced to everyone, it's coming out on December 6th. And then, several days later, said, oh wait, never mind, it's coming out on December 13th. And then, a few days later, oh wait, never mind, it's coming back on December 6th again. It would have been like a weird back and forth yo-yo roller coaster type experience for the audience. And that's what we want to avoid. We really want to avoid just sort of jerking you around and having you wonder if the last thing you heard was the truth, or if there's a new thing that you have to worry about. Or when we communicate with you, we always want it to be really, really solid. And so that's why until we're really absolutely certain that a particular update is coming out on a particular day, we don't want to announce when it is. And by the time we really have that level of certainty, it's usually just a couple of days away anyway. And so at that point, we're like, why bother announcing it? Let's just announce it on the day. So anyway, that's this particular time we actually had an interesting story that makes it clear why we communicate so little about the timing of dates. And so I thought I'd share that story because, it might give you some insight, because I know that a lot of people, wish that we could communicate more about exactly what's going on. But because, not everyone is fully engaged with us and is listening to every single thing we say, we don't want to risk having to put out conflicting messages over time that could confuse people and make them frustrated with trying to communicate with us. So there you go. There's some some input. Again, thank you for the raid, all you folks who showed up for that. That was really helpful and cool. And I'm sorry I didn't notice it until super, super late in the game. Okay, scrolling down a little bit further. Oh, I didn't notice that Undead Market showed up. Good to see you, Mark. At the very beginning of this stream, I highlighted the magic wand that you added to the game. So I think that Joe's going to highlight it on the official stream today. So cool. I'm really glad people are getting some attention on that, because it was a really cool piece of work, Mark, and I think it was great. Scrolling down further. Got some reactions to when the Juggernaut showed up. Yeah. Yeah, so Pimp My Wiki had asked, and I think this was might have been before I did my full explanation, why cut the FOV slider, though? Apparently you can still just edit the ini file to set the FOV anyway. Well, if you want to edit ini files, that's fine. Go right ahead and do whatever you want there. I'm not going to stop you. But when we officially support a feature, when we put it into the UI of the game, we do want to make sure that it's up to a certain level of quality. And if something that we added to the game adds weird headaches and problems or bugs or things that look glitchy, we feel like it's our responsibility to hold off and wait to do our implementation until it can be good. Because certainly if we implement things and they seem shoddy at first, we hear a lot about that from the audience too. So sometimes there's no way to give you exactly, to make it perfect. Either we're going to delay it or we're going to do it wrong. And those are our two choices. I prefer to choose delay it over doing it wrong whenever possible. Let's see here. Oh, JW Gillinger is asking if I'm wearing an Attack on Titan hoodie. Yes, I am. So this was a gift from my daughter, and my oldest daughter, who just turned 16, by the way, which is I can't believe how old we all are. But yeah, she got this for me. And it's funny, whenever I have to go to the high school to pick her up, I get 3 compliments from other kids her age. Attack on Titan is so popular among high school students. This is my, being a game designer, whatever, wearing an Attack on Titan hoodie, that's what makes me seem cool to teenagers. So yeah, so I kind of enjoy this. She did a very good job of making me, palatable to her friends as a rando who shows up at the school. All right. Oh, Lily's Apple says, Jeffrey, everything looks great. You guys did a wonderful job. Well, thank you so much. And we can pass your sentiment on to the entire team. So many people worked on this update. Each little part of this update is probably a different person putting some extra, time and love into the game. And so, yeah, I'm really glad that you appreciate it, because a lot of good people did a lot of good work on this thing. Yeah, Rush C agrees that Providence Ridge looks amazing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into it, finishing this siege, and then maybe trying to run around and see some things at night. And then so Uville Bill says that it feels like the density of zombies might have gotten higher in this update. So it's always hard to tell, because it's especially because Zoe was messing with the spawners while she was messing with the way that we show zombie spawns on the map. It's entirely possible that we did change the spawners in some way that led to a slightly higher population. But we also notice that almost every time we release an update, especially if somebody hasn't played for a couple of weeks before they get the update and go to try it out, people often get the impression that there are more zombies, even when there are not. And so I can't tell you for sure which one you're seeing, whether we did genuinely do something that increased the spawn rate of zombies, or whether you're just having a very common player experience, which is spending some time away from the game between updates, coming back for an update, and then suddenly feeling overwhelmed by the zombies because you forgot how bad it could get. Both of those are reasonable explanations for what happened, and so I'm not sure which one you're experiencing. But we do get, if it was always true, because every time we release an update, somebody says, you made the game harder, there are more zombies now, it's scarier now. Someone says that every update. And if it was true, the game would be made entirely of zombies by now. So it can't be true every time. It could definitely, it's possible that it could be true this time. But it can't be true every time. And so I always want to caution people against assuming that their experience in the game, when they come back for an update, is necessarily completely sort of, I guess, unbiased by, the time spent away. And then, okay, scrolling down a little bit further. Okay, yeah, Pimp My Wiki, thank you for sort of appreciating your explanation. We don't like delaying features when we can help it, but we do want them to be good when they come out. And let's see here. The Psychedelic Pirate asks, would I ever consider doing a stream of joining random communities and surprising the players? I have thought about doing that. I do tend to have a little bit of anxiety about playing with random people. And also, if somebody has not signed on to be on a stream, to be on a live stream, I kind of don't want to foist that on them. If we ever do get the ability to let you do things like, for instance, hide the gamer tags of people that you're playing with, which is a pretty common feature for games that people want to stream. And we have so far failed to add that feature to our game. It's something that I think we should have before we're done. But like, if I could turn something like that on, I'd be a little bit less nervous about it. But yeah, doing a stream where I'm sort of foisting people into the public view without them signing on for it feels like it could be problematic. And so that's the main reason that I've avoided it so far. Psychedelic Pirate said then volunteer. Well, yeah, so again, I have some anxiety too about playing co-op with people, and so I don't usually do it, except in special cases. But there you go. Okay, so yeah, and then, average Twitch user showed up to say, Update 28 just dropped, which is true. It did just drop, and I'm excited about it. But I think that is kind of it. I've gotten through the, Hotaj says I also volunteer as tribute. So I think I've gotten to the most recent chat. So I think this is the right time to wrap up this video. So yeah, we've gone through the whole patch notes. The only thing we haven't done is look at things as they're lit up at night, which I can't do right now because I've left the game paused so we wouldn't have to watch me fight through a siege. So why don't I close up this video and then we'll just go play for a little bit, and I'll try to get past that siege. I'll try to get through the middle of the day, and we can look at Providence Ridge at night. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, I'll stick a button there so that you can click that. Continue to get updates and responses to our game like this one. And then, yeah, I'll put links to other Update 28 videos over there if you want to check those out. And goodbye.